Welcome to the University of Leicester MBA webinar. My name is Helen Spiropoulos and I'm the admissions manager at Stafford Global. And joining me this evening are two very important guests all the way from the university is Jim Green, who is the regional manager for this program, and situated in the UAE, we have Mr. Refaat Kazoun, who is an alumni of this prestigious MBA program, as well as the CEO of Stafford Global. Good evening to both of you.
Evening.
Good evening.
Hey, thank you so much for joining me, and I'm looking here on my right hand side and I can see that quite a lot of you have joined us already. Good evening to everyone. I can see people as far afield as Saudi Arabia, as well as Bahrain and Egypt. Oh, and I can see Alice has said good evening to us. Good evening to everyone. How we are going to do this presentation this evening is Jim is going to go through the Leicester MBA program and also tell you a little bit about his experience on the program. We're then going to ask Refaat to also give his opinion on this program, being an alumni, and how this has actually helped him in becoming a very, very successful CEO in the Middle East. I'm then going to open up the forum. So if you look on your right-hand side, you'll see a little grey panel. You're very welcome to type out any questions that you'd like to ask Jim, as well as Refaat. Jim normally takes on questions related to the academics of the program. Refaat can also give you his experience in the Middle East, as well as how he went through the program. And I can also ask and answer any questions related to the admissions. Okay, so I'm now going to hand you over to Jim, who's going to take you through the program, and I am going to join you towards the end of the presentation. Over to you, Jim.
Thank you very much, Helen, and welcome everyone to this session this evening. It's really good to be invited to speak to you today. As Helen said, I work for the University of Leicester. I am a regional manager in the Future Students Office. So part of my role is in assisting students who apply for our programs with the transition to university life, and that is on these programs such as the Leicester MBA, but also our campus-based programs in the city of Leicester here. I am also a current student of the International MBA at Leicester, which I started in September 2019. So I'm about halfway through the program now. So what the idea is today is hopefully I can share a few of my insights about being a student on this program, give you a bit of an insider's view, and then obviously you've then got the benefit of Refaat here as well, with the benefits of this program after you've graduated. So a little bit about me to start off with. I graduated from my bachelor's degree in 2010, a BA in History and Russian Studies, and then in 2011 in MSc in Contemporary Russian Studies. So I'm a Russianist by trade, in politics, international relations and language. Since then, I've held roles in marketing, music and higher education. So for the past decade, I've been working in this particular sector. Before joining the program, my managerial experience, I managed a few teams in a few different universities. I also managed the relationships between different kind of clients as a self-employed marketing professional. So a bit of a range of experiences. One of the great things about doing an MBA course has been meeting lots of people from different backgrounds and different sectors, different stages of their managerial careers as well. It's been really good to benefit from those others' perspectives, not just my own. As I said, I'm now the regional manager as part of the External Relations Division at the University of Leicester. So before we go on to kind of my reflections of the MBA program, I do just want to go through a few kind of key bits of information, both about the program and the university. So our university was founded in 1921, so we're just under 100 years old. and I think we're looking pretty good for 100 years old, I must admit. We were awarded the Royal Charter in 1957, so that's the document in the UK that allowed you to call yourself a university and become a higher education institution. The Times Higher Education, the THE, have ranked us 24th in the UK and 166th in the world as a university. And we also are in the top 25 in the REF Research Power Rankings. We're very much one of those traditional research intensive British universities. And we're also 21st in the world in the impact rating. So that's the impact our research and our teaching has on the world around us. The university is also within the Reuters top 100 most innovative universities in Europe. And innovation is a topic that is quite close to the MBA heart, as you'll see as we go on a bit further. So the MBA itself, most people will be aware of what an MBA program generally involves. It is, of course, the Masters of Business Administration. It's very much viewed as the gold standard of kind of management education, very much a professional qualification taken by those kind of people who are looking to move perhaps into leadership positions, people who have been on maybe the first rung of managerial experience, looking to develop. Also with people with a lot of experience in managerial background, just looking to root their practice within the academic community and how those kind of managerial theories and research and the very fast moving area of management and business education as it relates to the world of work. The MBA program is accredited by the Association of MBAs, that's AMBA. Now, AMBA is very much, again, the only professional membership association which connects MBA students and graduates, accredited business schools, and MBA employees in more than 110 different countries around the world. Again, it's kind of the gold standard of MBAs. When it launched in 1989, the Leicester MBA was one of the first AMBA accredited distance learning MBA programs in the world. And today, over 12,000 Leicester Global MBA alumni worldwide is really a testament to our expertise and experience in helping professionals succeed. Being a student with us gives you access to this AMBA network of international business leaders. The Leicester MBA also allows you to gain a professional qualification from the Chartered Management Institute. So that's automatic as you go through this program. This is a level 7 certificate or diploma in strategic management and leadership practice, as well as being awarded the Foundation Chartered Management status. So these are really important markers of management expertise and are very well regarded by employers around the world. The programme is also accredited by the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants and the Chartered Institute of Marketing. Very similar names, but different areas of expertise. Both of these areas, for both of these, it's possible to gain exemptions from the respective professional examinations, depending on the elective module that you choose within the MBA. Just looking now a bit about the structure of the MBA. So the MBA is a 30-month program. You'll take 5 modules, and each module lasts about 6 months each. And then you have this last kind of portfolio, your in-country project, which is the research element of the standard master's degree. The first module focusing on managing and developing people and organizations. Moving on to managing value creation processes from idea and market, and managing finances and strategic decision making. Now, I at the moment am in this third module, so I'm going to go into a bit more detail later about these 3 kind of core modules, so you understand a bit more about what's involved and maybe get a few insights from my own practice as a student on this program. Once you've finished the 3 core modules, you then have an elective module. And you have options to specialize in one of these 3 different areas. So looking at managing the international marketing communications, brands and relationships, again, focusing on the finance, really connected to corporate policy and strategy, or more managing human resources strategically. The final part of that is an organisational research and consultancy methods project. So this is the research part as we go on to there. Typically, people taking the MBA would be in employment, and this part of the program would generally be connected to your own kind of practice. So I'm looking forward, at my point, to engage with what the University of Leicester is doing more on a strategic level, speaking to my higher up management and really engaging with the program when I reach to that point. Throughout the program, you also complete 2 different areas, which is the Learning and Professional Development Portfolio, which is a skills-based assessment of your skills and how they develop as you go through the program. You might see later, each module, each topic highlights quite strongly as you start which kind of areas of skills that it particularly develops, being it kind of listening, research, management, different kind of particular areas. And as we go through the program, there's points where you have to reflect on your practice. Now this has been really useful, especially for me, in being able to relate what I've been learning on the program to my direct practice as I'm going through and as in my working life. But it's a very important part of the area. The second bit is a career management and development program. So we have quite a regular program of external speakers coming in to share their experiences on particular topics, such as corporate social responsibility, or pertinent in today's world, managing at a distance or with a geographically distributed team, for example. So it's really helpful to benefit from the outlook and insights that those external people bring from the program as well. Just to note on the application deadline, so we have intakes both in April and September. For the April 2021 start, you do need to apply by the 1st of March 2021, but I'm sure Helen can go into a lot more detail about the application process when we speak to her a bit later again. Okay, so moving swiftly on. What I wanted to do is just share with you a few insights from my experience as a student on the program. Looking back and thinking back to Unit 1, so I started that September 2019. The first unit was about managing, developing people and organisations. Now this particular module is that kind of HR, like maybe classic management module. As you can see from the kind of slide, down on the left, down on the right, there's a wide range of topics in this particular area. So certainly looking at things like work analysis, which I hadn't ever come across before, which is that systematic understanding of what a job entails, and maybe matching the person specification to a particular job. So we do go into quite a lot of detail in HR concepts that perhaps you may not have come across if you're not a HR professional. One of the nice things about this is I was able to reflect on my professional experiences in the past and start to understand why things have been done the things they were. So every interview I ever had, you can kind of start to see how the connection between the job that you're applying for and the advert and the interview process works. And that was really quite useful, again, 6 months down the line when I found myself in a position to be able to expand my team and was able to use these kind of concepts to get the right person in. So it was really very, very relevant. Every week during the modules, during the units, you have a mix of online material to work through. We have some readings to go through, pre-recorded lectures, and also a live seminar, which happens every 2 weeks. Now, the live seminars are divided into 2 different groups, depending on the time zones. So you can fit them in depending on your availability there. I particularly use Microsoft OneNote to kind of organize my notes and kind of organize the way through the program. And I found this unit to be quite most relevant to my own work at this stage. especially reflecting on things like my management style with my team, understanding a bit more about motivation and reward management, and understanding the kind of dynamics between different groups and teams. Probably the most important and most interesting part of this particular unit for me was things about decision making and how decisions are made both on an individual and group level dynamic. We brought in some things about, group and individual psychology that obviously I haven't had the chance to study in the past. And then when you go back into the world of work and you start talking to your team members, you start to see this kind of thing in action, and just have a little checkbox in the back of your mind going, actually, you know what, I read this about this thing last seminar. I'm going to maybe adapt how I approach this conversation, which is a really useful thing to do. One of the features of the Leicester MBA is that it is a distance learning program, but you do have the opportunity to meet people in person. So twice a year we have the scheduled residential weekends. This was one back in February 2020, and it was a residential weekend. I attended the one in Leicester, but they were also held in various centres around the world. I believe that one is in Ras Al Khaimah. I'm sure Refaat will talk to you about his experiences of these residences later as well. We generally have a particular topic set, and it's really a chance to go into this topic, speak with your fellows on the course, engage with the lecturers and the teachers from Leicester, and really tend to kind of bring together this MBA cohort. This particular one in February was based on ethics and social responsibility. We had an expert panel come in who are kind of businessmen in there. You can see them on that picture there. So David, Faisal and Tobias. Lots of group work, lots of interactive lectures, also some social events and lots of networking. One thing that was quite useful for me for this residential weekend is obviously this was the first chance and first time I kind of felt part really of that MBA community. What we had is people in the room who had been doing this MBA for a year. They were on the final module. They're just about to submit their project. You'd had beginners such as myself. So it was really good to meet people from all those different kind of stages of MBA and get their reflections on the program, make those networking connections as well, which is obviously something that a lot of MBA students look for when they look to choose those MBA. So that was a really good experience. Moving on to the second module. So this module is value creation processes from idea and market. So if this isn't immediately apparent what it's about, then you can be forgiven for that. But essentially, it's looking at three different areas of business education and bringing them together to show how they kind of connect to each other. So here we're really looking at innovation and value, that kind of creation, research and development, those particular disciplines here. Operations management, so really how it works, how we establish global supply chains, how we work in practice, and marketing, and kind of how that relates to sales and the bottom line with your company. Now it's been a good approach to study these kind of three distinct areas together, and this connection with the value creation processes works. One of the first debates that came out in this particular area is actually, where is it located? Who actually makes the money? What's the most important part of your business? And each of these kind of areas almost argued on the same kind of area, that they were the most important, and everything else, kind of just supports them. So with innovation and value, if you don't have the product, if you don't have the service, if you don't have something to sell, then your company isn't going to make any money. By the same extent, operations management, if that product can't get to your customers, if your customers can't buy it from you, then you're never going to make any money. Suddenly, the marketing becomes more important as well. If people don't know about the product, if people don't see it out there, then they're going to go to competitors. So it was really interesting understanding the interplay of these three different areas. Now on the slide at the moment is a bit of examples of the typical access when you're accessing the material on this online distance learning course. As I said, we have this mix of materials, we have a mix of live lectures and these live seminars as well. You can see through the Blackboard program just how the kind of materials are set out and how you can access them through the different kind of weeks as we run through the program. That there is actually the Dean of the Business School, our very own Jim Devlin, who comes on to take some of the live seminars as well in this particular module. So it's great to have the benefit of his expertise on this course. Another one of the kind of in-person connections of this particular course is the residential masterclass. So this is similar to the weekend, but it's generally a whole week-long masterclass session. It's again an extended opportunity to really engage with the rest of the MBA cohort and the University of Leicester School of Business on one of those kind of key topics. Now, it was a bit different this year. Clearly, we had the pandemic, and the residential masterclass was kind of postponed because clearly it's not a great idea to fly everyone around from all over the world in the midst of this global pandemic. They took this decision quite early, let everyone know, and the immediate question was, so what are we going to do instead? Now, this is really an example of the innovation in practice. What happened is that the University of Leicester put on this online learning experience. So this was a separate platform that brought together lots of different material under the topic of reimagining management in the shadow of COVID-19. This took place part-time over 3 weeks. It was a curated collection of materials, articles, external and internal speakers, some group work project over the course of the 3 weeks. Really offered some fantastic perspective on things like the long-term COVID effects, business and management implications, societal change, innovation, split up by different topics: economies, institutions, governance, markets, marketing. A really good example of how what you learn on the MBA is always going to be up to date. It's always future looking as well. It's not just reading a dusty old textbook. It's very old. It's very connected to the world around us. So a useful information tool. And then moving on to the kind of unit 3. So this is the one I'm halfway through at the moment. We've been looking at financial statements, accounting practices from a strategic management perspective. I'm currently revising for the exam in January. A completely new topic to me. I've never studied any finance or economics before, so I'm getting through the material, but it is a challenging one for me in particular. And what I've just put up, just to highlight the point, is my kind of own kind of MBA plan over the last couple of months. You know, going over Christmas break, I actually moved house 2 weeks ago, so I've had to be very organized with this. And this just kind of highlights the points I want to make that you know, time management is key on this course. Really, yes, it is a part-time course. It is designed especially for that, so that you can do it alongside your other commitments, your work commitments. But it is kind of important to juggle work and family and you know, other interests alongside this. Advice about that is to try and look to carve out some time, you know, set aside some evenings. I've personally set a 4-hour session on the weekend. My wife has been an absolute angel looking after my daughter during that kind of time, but it is a consideration when you're looking at studying through this method. Just a few final thoughts then before I pass over to Refaat for his kind of reflections on where this program has taken him. Looking at the exams and assignments, so for each module you have one exam, one assignment. They are all delivered online. They've been really reflective of what you kind of study on the course, which is really useful, and not necessarily a scary thing. It's just helpful to reinforce what your learning has been as you go through. I always mentioned the kind of planning and finding time, and the ability that I've been able to have to kind of use what I've learned so far as we've gone through. Now, some of it I'm thinking, okay, I don't have my own business. It is an ambition of mine in the future. It would be useful. I can see why this stuff that I'm learning this week is going to be useful to me in the future. So, I'm going to park this here. And when it comes to the point where I'm generating ideas, I'm looking at business plans and setting that up in the future with a bit of luck, hopefully, I can come back to that and use it for the future. But there is so much here that is immediately relevant to the work I'm doing now. It's more than I expected it to be. I'm sure again Refaat will give you his reflections on that particular point. The final choice that I'm going to be making in the next couple of weeks is this elective module choice. When you do this elective module choice, it results as more of a specialist MBA, especially if you do then the project on the same particular area. So that's something I'm going to have to grapple with in the next couple of weeks. I'm also looking forward to engaging with the CMI. So when you join the course, you are eligible to sign up for the CMI membership. That's the Chartered Management Institute. Remember, you get this dual award at the end of it. CMI is very much a community of like-minded business people. Lots of emails, events that happen throughout the year, support, access, community groups to engage with as well. So that's been a really valuable part. Okay, I think that's everything from me at this point. So I think it's time to pass over to Refaat.
Thank you, Jim. Really appreciate that. And you just brought me back about 16 years in the past.
Yeah.
I'm looking at your notes and I'm looking at the modules. I'm going, oh my God, it's been that long. Well, for the benefits of all the attendees of this webinar, my name is Refaat Kazoun. I have an MBA from the University of Leicester. I graduated in 2004, which is 16 years ago, which makes me feel a lot older than many of you probably. The reason I'm on this webinar is basically to share with you my journey as a student very quickly, but more importantly after the graduation. What did this MBA do to me? And this affiliation with the University of Leicester, has it been successful for me? Obviously, otherwise I would not be here. So I come from an engineering background, from a mechanical engineering background. So doing an MBA for me was a very, very big decision. If any of you, and I know a lot of our students come from non-business background, and the first thing they see when they see all these modules is, oh my God, how am I going to learn accounting? How am I going to learn finance? How am I going to learn this and how am I going to learn that? I'll answer this in a minute. So I came into the University of Leicester MBA. I started in 2002 and I graduated in 2004 with a distinction. And that took me on my professional career, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And I also taught on the University of Leicester MBA. I taught organizational behavior, which is equivalent to the current module, the first module, and I taught a module called entrepreneurship and change management, leadership, entrepreneurship, and change management. And that's basically my specialty in my career as well. From a university perspective, graduating from the University of Leicester was really the highlights, one of the biggest highlights of my life. I still remember going to the Mumford Hall with my wife to graduate in 2004, and you really feel the grandeur of the university. You feel that you graduated from a university that is that is ingrained in British history, you know, British education, the UK, University of Leicester has all of this. And once you put your foot on the on campus, you'll see how large the campus is and how much walking you're going to have to do. Go in the summer, don't go in the winter. It's miserable in the winter. So after I graduated, I participated in a management takeover for our current company, Stafford Global, and I co-own the company right now. What did the MBA do to me for me as a person? Never mind the 3 letters. Yes, a lot of when you're doing an MBA, let's not get each other. Everybody wants to see those 3 letters after his name. Yes, I have a Master's of Business Administration, but then what? Where is the benefit of this MBA, and how does it compare to others? I'm going to start with a very something that quickly a lot of people ask me. Oh, well, the University of Leicester has the AMBA accreditation. There are others that are triple accredited. You know, my answer to this is very, very simple. Okay, University of Harvard has only 1 accreditation. Okay, accreditation, triple accreditations are, yes, they're nice, but it's like having 3 different driver's licenses, where you can drive in the UK and in the US and in Dubai. Okay, well, but you still know how to drive, but they make you pay for it. That is, let's just move this out of the way. Going back to from a professional perspective, and when Jim was talking about the different modules and how he is thinking about them right now, for Jim and for you guys, if you become students of the University of Leicester, the beauty about this entire thing is when you finish it, the holistic perspective that you have from an HR perspective, from a sales perspective, from a marketing perspective, from a finance perspective, from an accounting perspective, from a leadership perspective, all of a sudden they come together. And what I've just described right now is a business. If you're a business owner, those are the most important elements that you need to know, not necessarily at a granular level. The University of Leicester does not want to turn you into the MBA does not want to turn you into an accountant, okay? But it needs you as a professional, as a senior level professional, to be able to read accounting reports. You need to be able to read financial reports. I know if my controller was here, she would be laughing, because every time she comes in from a presentation, I look at the board and say there is a mistake in cell 1-6, or for example, and she starts shaking her head. This is what we want. What the University of Leicester wants to do. It wants to give you the ability to either manage your own business or manage someone else's business at a senior level. It wants to give you the ability to be sitting at a board level and participate in marketing meetings, in finance meetings, in leadership meetings, in HR meeting, and to be able to contribute to these. Okay, you need to trust your fellow managers who are specialized in HR, for example, like the HR director or the HR manager in your company. You're coming in from I always like to tell them in our management meeting, I come in from the devil advocate's perspective. You need to ask these tough questions of why are we doing this? Have we considered that? Have we not considered that? The critical analysis side that you will learn on this MBA is second to none. And why Leicester? Again, the question comes in, why the University of Leicester MBA? Jim started at the beginning with something very, very important, saying that University of Leicester is a traditional university that is heavily ingrained in research. And this is so important, because what is a university? You need to ask yourself, why can't I create a university, or Jim create a university? Oh, well, we'll put some program together and we'll buy some books that are already on the shelf, and anybody can put in an MBA program. You know, it's few modules and all of this, and we'll get some professors to teach. What makes the difference between one university and another? It is the research that the university does with its professorial people and the research that is taking place across the entire university that makes its way onto the modules that you're learning. So your module, what you will be learning right now, believe me, if I read the modules right now, they will be totally different than what I learned 16 years ago. Why? Because it is cutting edge. It is stuff that has been, and what Jim just said about the innovation at the university, that they said management in face of COVID-19. This, you cannot get more cutting edge than that. So that makes a huge difference between one university or another. To give you the cutting edge knowledge and experience, in very few universities you'll find the head of the School of Management participating in teaching students. Okay, Dr. Jim Devlin actually made this choice because he's heavily experienced both on academic side and from a business perspective. And when you hear this person speak, when this person is giving you their experience, you know, this you can't buy this stuff. You know, people go and sit down for a 3-day weekend and they pay $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 for a lecture by someone like of this level. But at the end of the day, without sounding too, you know, to be honest with you, is doing the Leicester MBA easy? No, it's not. Is it impossible? No, it's not. As Jim said, Jim put his finger exactly on what you need to know, and it's time management. I did it. I did my MBA distance learning, and I was married with 2 small children. And Jim, you're right. I have to thank my wife for looking after the kids. you have to appreciate that, because it takes time management. It takes. And my advice to you, if you ever start this, specific time, say this is my MBA time. Turn off your mobile. Everybody knows that you are studying at this time. I used to wake up at 4 a.m. I know this is not everybody's cup of tea, you know, but I found that studying 2 hours early morning, 2 to 3 hours early morning before I go to work, worked more than 10 hours in the evening. Others are, you know, night owls. They can start studying at midnight for 2 to 3 hours. So you need to specify your own timing. But the most important thing is time management. Say, this is my MBA time. And remember, it is one of the biggest investments you will do for yourself. Forget the financial end. Of course, that's sizable. But from the time that you put in yourself, the investment that you put into this program, it is one of the biggest, but believe me, it is one of the most rewarding. To me, I don't want to take too much of your time because I want to go back to the questions. To me, it has taken me, to be honest, from a normal employee to a business owner. And without mentioning any numbers, when we took over the business, I think within, right now, it has been about 12 years, we've multiplied the turnover by at least 10. So, and I have, of course, a lot of hard work comes into this. It's not only me, but myself, I do not think there is a chance in hell that I would have been able to do it without having my MBA, because as I mentioned earlier, I come from an engineering background, took few business courses. The MBA ingrained me in every single aspect of business, and it made a huge difference. I'll stop right now, and I'll get back to Helen with the questions.
Okay, thank you very much both. Fantastic insight into this MBA program, and I have already opened the forum, so please feel free to type out as many questions that you have, and I already have seen quite a few that have come through. Okay, so Jim, first question from Najib to you is, I've noticed that you've mentioned about a masterclass in the UK. Are there any other master classes offered at any other of the global centers, such as the UAE?
So certainly the weekend events, the more residential ones, are offered in those global centres. The idea behind the masterclass was that it would be held in Leicester, and I believe for the last number of years, certainly it's been held in Leicester. And that's mainly because it is more of an in-depth program. So it's a week-long program. It's much more about connecting to the full MBA cohort and also connecting to the university as well. So you get to meet in person all of the academics you've been being taught with. We have lots of external people come in, and in kind of bringing together the whole kind of MBA cohort, you get that much more of an experience. Now, the masterclass is an optional part of the program. You don't have to take part in it, but it does come, widely recommended and heavily recommended. Everyone I've spoken to has been part of it, has come across with a very good opportunity. For me, the regret I have was clearly nothing I could do about, which was this year it was this kind of online replacement for the pandemic. But as the masterclass happens once a year, I'm hoping to come back and be able to be involved in the more face-to-face masterclass later in 2021. So for those of you looking to start the program in April, I'll probably see you there, and I hope to do so.
Good.
I highly recommend it. I highly recommend it. As a distance learning student, Jim is in the university right now. But I can tell you, when I went to those masters, they used to be called summer summer school when I did mine. The connection to the university, it brings it all together, and I highly recommend it from an academic side and from a personal side to connect to you looking at yourself as a student of the University of Leicester.
Absolutely.
Refaat, I think, I don't know whether you had the same perspective. Obviously, when I was looking at taking the next step in my managerial career, looking for a qualification, I went close to home in the end. But initially, I was looking at these MBA programs that you do it kind of full-time for a year. You're in person in a campus university, maybe in the USA or other universities in the UK. And maybe one of the concerns I had beforehand was through doing a distance learning program was perhaps missing out on this sense of a cohort and having those people around me and that networking opportunity. I've got to say, actually, now being part of it, I don't feel that at all. I don't think that's worked out in practice, because we have such connection with my classmates through the virtual programs, because we have these residentials and the masterclass. I still feel that I'm making those links in the business community in different sectors that I never thought I would do. One of my closest collaborators of the program at the moment runs a shipping company in Malta. Another person runs a children's charity in the UK. I've met a representative who works for the UN women's program who's based out of Malawi. These connections are so international, so valued. So I don't think anyone listening today should have any concerns about that lack of connection through doing a distance learning program.
It's actually the opposite of what it used to be. To be honest with you, before we used to depend on the face-to-face networking. Right now, with the technology, if you think about it, right now, you probably have 1,000 friends on Facebook, and you have, if you're lucky, 10 or 12 face-to-face people that you see all the time. And if you reflect that on the Leicester MBA and the academic network, on the social academic network that is available for the students, you're actually better off. You have the opportunity to meet a lot more people with the university social network than you will ever meet face to face. Because if you go do it full time, you are going to be part of this cohort, which is 20, 30 people, 40 people, whatever it is. And you're going to make friends, 10 of them, okay? 10, 12, 15, you're very popular. You're going to make friends with all of them. But with the University of Leicester social program, you're not only connected to the people of your cohort, you are able to connect to the alumni. You're able to connect to the academics and to the rest of the cohorts that are doing the program. So from a social perspective, it is much, much bigger. And to be honest with you, not everybody is as a face-to-face guy. A lot of people feel a lot more comfortable behind their screens.
Mm. Yeah. Absolutely. Good point there. Next question is for Refaat from Mahmoud. You mentioned that you completed your MBA program approximately 16 years ago, and obviously the structure is a little bit different now. Do you feel that you need a refresher course to learn new things, or is what you have gained in your MBA sufficient?
Absolutely never sufficient. I am more inclined to be on the academic side rather than on the business side. And anybody who works for me knows that I'm a lifelong learner. The MBA is going to give you the absolute, it's going to filter everything that you require from a senior managerial position for you to know all these elements. But anybody who tells you that after 16 years, well, I know it all, believe me, run away from them. You need to read, it depends on what you do. My passion right now is online learning and online marketing. And I'm constantly reading and researching and listening to what other people are saying. And as you know, these days, the world is going at 1,000,000 miles an hour. If you stop learning, you will be quickly left behind. Having said that, the base will always be there. Accounting principles are not going to change. Marketing principles, the principles are not going to change. Financial principles are not going to change. Entrepreneurial principles are not going to change. What you need to do is take your base and then adapt as you go ahead.
Okay, good. And Jim, a question from you from Allah and quite a few applicants. Is it possible to finish the program in less than 30 months?
It is possible, but only by taking the postgraduate certificate as opposed to the full MBA program. So that is, you take the taught module parts, you take effectively a third of the whole program, and it's kind of an introduction to it, but it's not the full MBA program. So it's possible at the University of Leicester to do it. Now, in terms of the time commitment, 2.5 years sounds long on the face of it. But here I am, a 1.5 years into the program, and it's gone by so quickly. And I have found that it's been useful as I've been going along through my my professional practice as well as the academic side of things. So, if you think back to your undergraduate days when you went to the university and you were there for 3-4 years, and how quickly that slipped by, and that was full time. The time investment in a program like this, it is significant. You do need to be organised and have your time there, but I'll certainly say it's been worth it so far. I wonder how Refaat feels of that kind of same kind of thing. Obviously 16 years later.
No, thank you for asking, because I get asked this question all the time from people who are looking for the program or the other programs. I just want to tell you one thing. There are many programs who probably offer you to finish it in 24 months or something like this. Let me be dead honest with you. You're not going to finish it in 24 months unless you're sitting there doing nothing but the MBA. It is very, very difficult. The University of Leicester used to be 24 months, but did we all finish it in 24 months? The vast majority took more time than that because it allowed us to do that. As a working professional, you're busy. Most of you have family life, business life. You don't know what sort of curveball you're going to be thrown at by work, by COVID-19. We don't know what's going to happen. So the university has given the time that most people take. So yes, you can finish it in 2 years, possibly. I'm not talking about the University of Leicester MBA. I'm talking about another program, but it would be very, very hard. The other thing that enjoy your degree. The faster you do it, the quicker you're going to do things and you're doing it for the sake of finishing. You know, what is 6 months? What is the difference between 2 years and another 6 months on top of them? If it is the difference between you really enjoying and taking your time and studying and enjoying it for yourself, because you know, you don't do a master's degree for others, you do it for you. You want to enjoy it, you want to get the benefit of the degree. So my advice is, it's nothing. This, as Jim said, you know, like this, it'll be gone and you'll graduate. 6 months is not going to make any difference whatsoever, and the opposite is true. Take your time to understand these modules and the time to do the project, and it is all beneficial to you at the end. Because I always say, the MBA is not what it gives you, it's what you put in it.
Yeah, I would certainly agree with that. And thinking about the reasons why you're doing an MBA, are you just doing this MBA just so you get those letters after your name, or actually do you really want it to provide you with the knowledge, with the basis, with the experience, with the skills to go on and properly make a difference in the business that you choose to do afterwards? There is so much content within the course. Even, you know, just the first module, we look at things like work analysis, recruitment and selection, motivation, performance management, groups, decision making, learning, communication, leadership perspectives, structure and culture, problem solving, globalization. I can go on and on and on. I got to the end of my list, and that was just the first kind of page. Now, as Refaat said, you don't know when you're going to use these things in the past. And I think I mentioned earlier, you know, some of the stuff about looking at financial statements and things like that. I don't do that in my job now. I can't necessarily see where I'm going to go in terms of this job, that I'm going to be using it. But I do have this ambition, like Refaat, to, you know, own and run my own company one day. And there's going to come a point where I'm going to need to understand that. And if I can come back to that basis of knowledge a little bit later in life, if I've taken the time to understand it now, then that's going to set me up better in the future. I have no doubt of that.
Okay, good. And a very interesting question from Alice for Refaat. Was the MBA for you a very strong return of investment?
Oh my God. It's certainly a very good question, but I'm honestly, I'll tell you, it paid for itself folds and folds and folds. I own my own business, and I'm proud to say I'm very successful in my business, and I owe it to hard work and the MBA. There is no way I would have been able to do this, to be as successful in my business, or even run a business. I can't imagine it, as I'm an engineer running something that has nothing to do with engineering. Yes, the answer is yes, yes, yes.
Good. And our last question is regarding examinations. So, Jim, you did mention there are some exams. Are these being tested virtually? And if so, how are these conducted?
Sure. Okay, so there's two types of assessment in the modules. There's the exam and then there's the assignment. Now, the exam is a virtual online exam. It's done on the basis of an open paper. So effectively on Friday morning, UK time at 9 o'clock, you get a list of questions through, and that's accessible through the online program. And you have until 9 o'clock Monday morning to submit your answers. Now it's done in this way. You have 12 different options. It's slightly different between the different modules. Some you have to answer every question, some you have to answer 6 out of 12, depending on the modules and how they set. Now, when you come to that point, that might have changed again, because the MBA, you know, is changing in terms of the content and the assessment. But it was useful, especially again having the weekend, having my family and my other commitments, to be able to really reflect upon the material I've learned, to bring in other elements of my professional experience, and kind of have a satisfying, well-rounded answer that I've been able to give to those exam results. And I'm not doing too badly in terms of grades so far, hopefully. The assignment, you actually get the question of the assignment at the start of each module, so you'll know exactly what you need to do for 6 months. You get a deadline. We have some revision sessions. We have some specialized kind of module seminars to help you through that process. And you have kind of guidance as towards the structure of the assignments, elements like that. Now, the 2 module assignments I've done, they've both been 3,500 word assignments and your typical kind of university level essay. And again, that's submitted online through the online system.
Good, excellent. And another question from Ralph for Refaat. Do you feel that this MBA has equipped you to progress further in your studies? The reason I'm asking this is I myself would like to do a PhD or doctorate. So do you think this will assist me in doing that?
Well, the short answer is absolutely yes. And here's the long answer. Just to answer your question, let's find out what is a PhD or what is a doctorate. A PhD, I asked a very big professor at the University of Leicester, Professor Peter Jackson, once, what's a PhD? And this is a little joke. He said, well, you know what? You read about 200 books and then you find out that you don't know anything. So a PhD is really about research. And if you just look at how Jim answered the question right now about the assignments and how he answered the assignment, it's the combination of all these assignments and exams that prepare you to do a huge piece of research instead of doing them in pieces. Okay, and again, this is a very good question because it differentiates between University of Leicester and many other universities. Because with the University of Leicester, there is a huge constant, they demand from you critical analysis. It's not just simply about answering a question. So you're never going to ask, okay, what are the elements of marketing? That is not a master's question. This is a bachelor level question that you would answer when you are 20 or 21. At a master's level question, the questions are going to be reflect on X, Y, Z, or this is a situation. What do you think, and what is the critical analysis of it? How do you think, and what are others thinking about? Because again, from a business perspective, from a senior managerial level, if you only do what you think, you're going to fail. You are going to think what you're going to obviously think, this is what I think, but what are others thinking? What is the competition doing? What are my managers thinking? Maybe their ideas are better than me. So you bring in the research element of this, the difference, the practice of research that you are doing throughout the MBA. This is what is going, of course, in addition to the final project, which is a huge piece of research. This is going to prepare you to the big piece of research as a PhD, where you ask yourself a very small question and you answer a huge answer.
I can come in a little bit on this. Obviously, in my day job, I support students who are looking for masters, for undergraduate, for PhDs as well. When you reach PhD level, it is about that original contribution to knowledge. So you're answering a question that no one else has answered before, no one else has an answer for, and that's what you're trying to do as part of that project. Now, if I'm reflecting on what I've learned through the MBA, as part of the kind of content that you learn, we learn some of the kind of traditional and standard economic and business thought, so things that people have been thinking about in past decades, and then how that's changed throughout. So you learn a bit about the academic side of things and these academic theories that alongside the more practical sense of things. The example I've kind of got is when we were learning about operations design and psychology, and looking at things like, there's innovative companies such as Google or Facebook who, design their offices with a football table or comfy chairs or a big slide coming down from the and the impact on how that has on employees' motivation and work output and psychology. Now, in an age of COVID-19, of Zoom calls, of digital networking, One of the changes we might be seeing is actually more people working from home, less offices. These kind of innovative and wonderful things that happened in the past decade might already be a part of past. So perhaps one idea for PhD level study would be, how are we relating this now in the age of what we have now in terms of the bigger world and the more digital connections. So in terms of sparking those ideas and understanding the gaps in academic research, because you do cover those kind of schools of thought within the MBA, that's also going to help you to understand what your original contribution to business and management knowledge might be about.
Right, excellent. And this is a question for Jim again from Fatima. There are two questions really. My first question is, I can see that there are only 3 specializations. Will you be getting any further specializations? And second part of my question is, if I do the general MBA, can I choose any topic for my dissertation?
Yes, so at the moment there's the 3 pathways. There might very well be further pathways in the future. And as we know, the kind of MBA is developing, and as the world of work changes, that's kind of reflected in business and management education. I'd say that those 3 kind of specializations are quite broad though. So within those main planks, they're kind of HR management, the finance and economic side of things, or more the kind of marketing and sales kind of things. There's a wide range of kind of scope to cover within those 3 disciplines. In terms of the MBA specialism, in order to get the specialism in one of those 3 areas, so either marketing, finance, or HR management, you have to do both the option module and your project in that particular area. So if I'm going down the marketing route, for example, which would be natural to me, I'd be needing to do my project on something to do with marketing and related kind of sales. You can go down the generalist route, which is basically you pick any one of those pathways. You do the same as everyone else, but then you do your project, your dissertation on whatever you want. So yes, that would be the route of a generalist MBA. You're not entirely free to do everything you want. You will have some consultation with the academics and some guidance as to what your project is suitable to be on, and a bit of back and forth. But that's kind of natural part of the original knowledge of the research structure in a university master's degree anyway. So you can obviously be prepared for that.
Good. Okay.
I'd like to add a little bit of advice for Fatima on this as well. My advice is, unless you are 100% sure that you're staying all your life in that specialty, my advice is not to specialize, because once you specialize, an MBA in HR or an MBA in marketing, you're never going to live it out. That's it. You're considered an MBA in marketing. But if you're a general MBA, you are considered a jack of all trades. You have a general MBA. It's funny how the job market sees it. If you are an MBA in marketing, I'll give you an example. If someone is looking for a general manager, and they have 2 MBAs applying, one with a general MBA, one and an MBA in marketing, they're most likely going to take the general MBA, because they're going to brand the other person, well, he's a marketing guy, I'm looking for a general manager. So unless you know you're staying in that profession for the rest of your life, very few people are. My personal advice, stay with the general route.
And that's just helped me as well, Refaat. I'm literally at that point of the MBA. If I have to choose at that point, that's helped me too. Yeah. And thank you, Fatima, for the question.
You're welcome.
Good. Okay. And a very interesting question that has come through from Abdullah Tif for Refaat. I'm currently working in Dubai in a multinational company. In your opinion, is this a good MBA to study for immigration purposes to Canada?
I'm Canadian, so I'm answering you based on experience here. I can tell you that the University of Leicester MBA is 100% recognized by Canada specifically and internationally for immigration purposes. From a professional perspective, University of Leicester is very, very well known in the Middle East. Thousands of alumni have gone through this program and they're graduates, some in very, very senior positions. But going back to your recognition from an immigration perspective, the answer is yes, and I know for a fact is accepted also in Australia, all of Europe and New Zealand.
Remember, it is an internationally recognized qualification, so and it doesn't really matter which country you wish to immigrate to. This is a very good university, very good MBA, and it will hold you steady. So do take that into consideration. Jim, a question for you is, why is there no full-time option of this MBA on campus? I would like to maybe consider starting this program online and moving to the campus in future.
It's a good question. I think it's just not something that the University of Leicester offers currently. The particular way of delivering this program, which has been established for the past 25 years, it's not a new program, but it has enabled the university to be very responsive to changing things around the world and to bring that global community together. So I think that advantage that the program has kind of contributed to the decision not for the university not really to offer that 1 year full-time option. I can't say for the dean of the business school whether he wants to bring that in the future. It may be something like that, but certainly in terms of this program, because it has been so well regarded, the AMBA accreditation, the sheer amount, the thousands of graduates, I don't think it's going anywhere soon.
Yeah.
Good. And Shamima's question is, how many hours a week should I be dedicating to my studies? I am a married woman, I have 3 kids, and quite a successful career. So in your opinion, how many hours should I be dedicating?
So my plan when I started was to try and carve out 12 to 15 hours per week. That was the advice I got given. In practice, some weeks I can hit that. Other weeks I barely get 4 or 5 hours on it. The important thing is to remain as flexible as you can do and to do as much as you can with it. Now you have time as you go through the topics of different weeks, to pick up some of the reading of an evening or to be to carve out that time if you can. There's also times there the extra things that come in, the live lectures, the external speakers, for example, maybe arrange for a set time. So if you can join us for that, then that's wonderful. If you can't, don't worry too much. They're usually kind of recorded and you can find them at a different time. I won't lie to you, it is a time commitment, but as you would expect, if you're investing that money, that time in this kind of professional qualification such as the MBA, then in order to get the best out of it, you need to have that time commitment. But I would say, and Refaat will back me up with this, it's totally possible with an understanding family, with compromises here and there, with trying to carve out at least one time per week that you can have a few hours on your own, no distractions, to really focus on time of things. Then it's possible to go through the week and get through the material that you need to.
The only thing I just want to add a little bit to help you out probably on this as well. I don't know at what level you are in your career right now, but the higher you are, the more senior you are, the more you will see the benefits of this MBA, and your career, your work itself will reflect on what you're doing. I found myself when I was doing the MBA carrying a notebook where I wrote in that notebook 3 or 4 times per day, because you see something that you're studying about and you just make a note of it. And all of this I know it might not sound as significant as it actually is right now because I'm saying it to you, but it is extremely significant when you're writing your paper or writing your assignment, because you're bringing actual business reflection into your work. So your entire life becomes the MBA. Trust me, I'm not trying to scare you. It's a wonderful thing, by the way. I'm not saying it in a negative way at all. It is, you start looking at the world differently. You know, everything starts making sense. Oh, that's why they're doing that, and that's why they're doing that. I had no idea why is this done this way.
Okay, good. And quite an interesting question that has come from Ahmed for Refaat. You are in the education business. Do you think that a pure online MBA or an MBA with workshops would be more beneficial?
Well, my friend, COVID-19 has taught the world a lesson, and I honestly believe that it completely destroyed the stigma that online learning is a sub-product of education. We've all met online, we've all worked online, we've all researched online, we've all met friends online, we met family online, and we all studied online. So the answer to you, no, I actually think it is actually more beneficial because, number one, you get to study on your own time. You choose the time that you want to study. You want to study on the weekend. I knew a lot of my friends when I did my MBA, they didn't touch a book the entire week, the weekday, because they were busy. They were hard, but they dedicated 5-6 hours on the weekend, on each day of the weekend, with supporting family, obviously, and they got it done. The difference right now is what is available online to you as a student, which is unthinkable. Going back to when I did the MBA, I honestly had to research. I had books on the table with yellow markers in them. Right now, all you have to do is go click, 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 few clicks, and you got your answer. And I go back to the previous question that was asked before on the networking side. The number of people that are available to you to network with right now, when you are studying online versus face-to-face, is unbelievable. And you choose this, you can shut the door here, and you don't have to be nice to everybody. You can choose your own social friends and social network with the people that you want. So the advantage is incomparable, to be honest with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And remember, this Leicester MBA does have the mandatory workshops. And because of the COVID situation at the moment, they are all virtual. So you can do that in the comfort of your home. You don't need to travel at this point. And again, you can still have that connection, even though it is virtual. We're having this connection right now as we're discussing things. So this is basically how the workshops will be conducted as well. So you do have that type of connection, even if it is virtual. Okay, and
Helen, I just want to add one more thing that just came to mind. University of Leicester has been doing the distance learning MBA, which is the online learning right now. It's just progressed from pure distance learning. They've been doing this from the early 90s. Okay, so University of Leicester MBA, of course, and I'm very proud as an alumni to say this. You are considering an MBA from a university that has years, decades of experience in delivering this type of program. While COVID-19 forced a lot of universities to scramble and to come up with programs that are called online right now. Just be careful. That's all. It's a big investment.
Okay, good. And another question that is actually for Jim. What is the maximum time period that I can complete this MBA? Both Refaat and you have spoken about pacing your studies. So what would be the maximum time frame?
So the maximum time frame allowed in the university regulations is 5 years. But that would only happen if you kind of have breaks between the modules. So it is possible to do one of the 6-month modules and then maybe have a break for 6 months and join the next cohort. Some people find that useful, just to give a bit of structure to it, or if you have an unexpected life event or work event, you could effectively pause your study. So that's the maximum length. Other people kind of go all the way through and complete the program within 2.5 years. So it's down to your kind of personal circumstances.
Good, good. And I'm going to answer Najib's question, which is, Najib has got over 10 years experience, but no degree. And can I join this program? Absolutely, Najib. What you would need to do is just send your CV to your personal academic consultant. What we'd like to see is all your roles and responsibilities, specifically related to management and business, and we can consider taking your application on what we call a non-standard entry. So by all means, please do get in touch with us and we'll definitely be able to assist you with that. Okay, and a very popular question that always comes through is, does the degree certificate state online distance learning? Okay, Jim, you can answer that from the university's perspective.
I don't think I can actually. I'm not sure. I don't have my certificate yet.
Right. Okay. All degree certificates from the University of Leicester do not state online distance learning. Remember, you're doing this program remotely or virtually because of the current conditions. And a lot of the modules that are covered, and if you were doing it at the university campus, would be identical. So absolutely no mention of online distance learning on your certificate or on your transcript. Now, you can get in touch with your academic consultant and we can actually give you a sample of that so that you can actually see what your degree certificate will look like once you have successfully completed the program.
You probably saw me smiling when I heard that question, because I've been asked this question 1.5 million times. And let me tell you one thing, although it might sound like a very important question right now, once you graduate and you have an MBA from the University of Leicester, the last thing you are going to hear from a prospective employer, oh, did you do it online, or did you do it in person? Nobody asks this question. Why? Because what your employer is going to look like is, where did you get your degree from? And if it is a top 20, top 25 university, a very well-known university in the UK, any prospective employer will know that these universities are not going to just hand you a degree if you don't meet the requirement. That is one. Secondly, research has shown, and employers know that students who finish a master's degree or any degree online are actually more committed, and they are better employees because they show determination, they show abilities for time management, they show ability to actually study while holding a full-time job. So the question here, if it was you on the other end of the table, who would you hire?
Yeah, that's quite correct. And a question from Haytam to you, Refaat. I'm an operations manager and I am looking to be a country manager in the UAE. So out of the 3 specializations, do you think a general MBA would be better for me? And I know you may be biased on your answer.
Well, the answer is still the same. It's not going to change. If you are passionate about one thing, let me give you an example. If I was a banker, bankers usually don't change careers. Okay? If I was a banker and I know that this is where I'm going, I want to be vice president of my bank, I love finance, I love banking, I would definitely specialize in finance because it was really good, look good on my degree. He's an MBA in finance. Yes, that's a lot, okay? And that is perfect for banking. But if you are in operation management, again, my advice, stay a little bit on the general side, because you don't know what the future will bring. I hope I'm able to, I answered your question properly.
Okay, and Mohammed has a question for Jim. What happens if I fail a module? Will I have the opportunity to resit?
Yes, you will. Yeah, there is the opportunity to resit exams. As you go through as well, you are assigned a personal tutor. So that is a member of the academic staff who is with you all the way throughout your degree. So mine is Professor Warren Smith, and you have kind of regular catch-ups with them as well. So if you've got any concerns about the material, if you feel like you're falling behind, if you're not quite understanding it as well, then there is that immediate kind of response and help from the university to give you the support you need to succeed. The university doesn't want to see you fail. It doesn't set you up to fail. It supports you with getting the knowledge and the content that you need to pass those assessments. So yeah, don't feel worried about them at all. The university is there to support you through that journey.
Fantastic. And a question again for you, Jim, from Amwad. When are the graduations held? And due to the current COVID-19 situation, will these go ahead? If not, how will I get my degree certificate?
Okay, well, I think I won't be alone in hoping that 2.5 years from now, when you graduate, I think we'll hopefully be back to normal, or at least as close to that as whatever that might look like. But generally, the graduation ceremonies are together with all the other graduating students from the University of Leicester, whether they're doing this course or another course. So those are held twice a year in September and January. And this year, when we held our graduation ceremonies, they were conducted online for obvious reasons, but it was more than ever before a real celebration of students' achievement, and it felt like all the stops were kind of brought out to make that a memorable experience. Now, I know the university is planning some more in-person events for those graduating classes. It's not the full graduating course, but there will be events to to come to campus, to visit Leicester if they students have never been there in the coming months and years. But obviously we are subject to the global pandemic and what that dictates we can do. But certainly I hope by the time you come to graduate, you'll have the opportunity to come and visit De Montfort Hall as Refaat did, and have those kind of memories that obviously last a lifetime.
Absolutely. I hope everyone experienced that day.
Absolutely. It's a very auspicious occasion, and it's quite important for students to attend it because you've really worked very hard. And it's nice to actually, show that achievement with your family and your friends. So yes, if it is all up and running, it would be great if you all do attend that graduation. And I'll answer Ahmed's question. He has completed a postgraduate diploma from an institution in Saudi Arabia. Will I get exemption towards this MBA? Unfortunately, Ahmed, the University of Leicester does not accept any exemptions. Please do get in touch with me or your consultant, and we'll be able to guide you further on that as well. Okay, and it seems like I've actually managed to group all the questions together. So we've actually gone through them quite successfully. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending, for all those wonderful questions. Again, thank you very much, Refaat and Jim, for joining us this evening. Very, very informative. I just want to add one final thing. We are currently accepting applications for the April intake. Yes, the application deadline is the 1st of March. However, this program is very, very popular, and the places do actually fill up quite quickly. So I do encourage you to try and send your application documents to us as soon as possible so that we can get that very, very important unconditional offer for you. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a very good evening, and thank you for joining me this evening. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.